Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Norway Chess 2024, an unbelievably strong tournament going on in Stavanger, Norway, featuring Magnus, Carlsen, Hikaru, Nakamura, and other exceptional top players. This is round number 5. In this recap, things heated up. Records were broken in this recap. Every single game is extremely important and has massive implications for top-level chess and the rankings. Also, a very quick announcement from my part before I get into the games. This is my last video from this place for the next 2 weeks. Why? Because I'm going to Spain. I am traveling to Spain for 2 weeks for some incredible things. Number one, I am going there for the Clash of Claims, the match between Vladimir Kramnik and Jose Martinez Alcantara. This is super exciting stuff. It's going to be in Madrid. I'll put a link in the description. If you live in Madrid or are close by, there is limited ticket access. All right? We're going to be doing live commentary. It's going to be sick. I mean, I'm just beyond excited for this match and to see what happens. 36 rounds of 3+2, half on computers and half on physical boards. Second reason that I'm going to Spain is not the Clash of Claims, but it's right afterward. It is my unretirement chess tournament, featuring a bunch of these players, one of whom I'm going to be playing against, Pepe Cuenca. I will put a link in the description as well. A lot of you have been asking, like, when's my chess tournament? It's happening. It's in 9 days. It begins in 9 days. So after the Clash of Claims is over, I am unretiring officially and playing in a chess tournament. So all of that, I will be bringing you coverage of my recaps. Obviously, I will be showing you all those types of things. But people who subscribe to the Patreon will get behind-the-scenes vlogs. I will vlog my journey there. I'll vlog all sorts of stuff. So I'm super excited. Do check out the Patreon, uploading full Grandmaster lessons on there. I think we're already up to like 12 hours of content behind the scenes. Very exciting stuff. Appreciate those of you who have subscribed, over 320 thus far. You are all amazing people, and I hope to bring you more awesome coverage. I'm unretiring. The Clash of Claims is happening. All the links in the description. This was a historic round of action at Norway Chess. Liren versus Hikaru. Liren has lost 2 games in a row. Hikaru is 27-98. And is playing some incredible chess. But he's playing with the black pieces, so life is going to be a little bit difficult for Hikaru, which is why against the Queen's Gambit, Hikaru plays what he played in the Candidates Tournament against Prague to beat Prague, c5. Ding uses the mirror image Queen's Gambit. Frankly, this is not even Queen's Gambit declined. I mean, I guess technically anything is the Queen's Gambit declined. Technically, this is a Queen's Gambit declined. But c5, mirror image Queen's Gambit declined. Now, Pragg played in a very normal way in his game, but he got kind of a okay position. Ding plays cd5, and now, rather than taking back with the queen or taking back with the pawn, Hikaru gambits. He waits for Ding, and Ding plays knight c. Ding spends 6 minutes on the 4th move. This is ridiculous opening preparation from Hikaru. I mean, it's absurd you can play like this, by the way, nowadays. I mean, this looks like beginner chess. You didn't take either of the pawns, but it's not. And the incredible thing about this position is, like, you may be wondering, why is he just not taking all the pawns? It's not that simple, because after queen d5, knight d5, this pawn is too far. You can't protect it. You can't protect it like this. And if you kick out the knight, I'm going right here. And then I'm going to win my pawn back. You say, no, you're not, Gotham. I'm going to play bishop e3. It's just a matter of time. Bishop e6. The knight is going to come out. First of all, you're losing the pawn here, by the way, just as a little bonus, which is kind of annoying. So Ding doesn't get involved in any of that, and he just kind of wants stability. So he gets himself into a position where everything is stable. Everything is stable. Knight c6. White has a plus 0.5 advantage, which is kind of the best thing you're going to get when you play the mirror image Queen's Gambit, right? Queen c3. So I noticed this position. I saw, okay, you know, now Ding has to play chess. Low-key, absolutely brilliant opening prep from Hikaru, because Ding has not been in great form. Not against Ali Reza, not against the other players in this tournament. He has to play chess, and he may struggle. He plays e4. That move is very, very principled, and he develops the bishop to e2. That move is also very principled. Hikaru plays e5. That's not a free pawn. The idea is to open up the bishop, and Ding does not lose his queen, but he does play a bit timidly a3, which is a massive investment of time. a3 makes sense if in the future you will also play b4, but he probably should have just castled. I'm actually not sure what he was so afraid of, because if bishop to b4, he can go here or here. He He probably shouldn't trade queens, and he shouldn't allow his queen to be a target, but literally any other move is okay. A3 is kind of these like one of these like worrying moves. And so Hikaru plays bishop g4. Extremely provocative. Knight takes c5 is yet again a free pawn. It doesn't quite work because you take, you threaten checkmate, so king takes. Yeah, this is just not going to work out for white. So Ding castles, Hikaru brings his pieces, and now Hikaru plays knight to a5, b5, and Ding, after moving his queen around to d4, to c3, to b3, to a4, moves the queen back to d1 and trades it. He moves the queen like half the opening. Half the opening was spent moving the queen, and now he doesn't have a queen. And now you look at this position and it's like, but Hikaru's just going to put his knight on b3. Like, what should Ding have done instead, right? Well, first of all, a3 was a bit of a loss of time. But even in this position, after castles and rook c8, a better move is something like bishop to c4. Just putting pressure on the black position. Bishop c4, black can't really play knight d4. He has too many tactical weaknesses. So, you know, he might develop a bishop, and then you play h3, you kick out this bishop, maybe you play bishop g5, maybe whatever. But queen a4, and suddenly he just allows Hikaru to get to an absolutely perfect setup. At this point, there was commentary on the main broadcast from, I think it was Kirilla, who works with Fabiano Caruana, and I guess he was on the commentary. He was like, something's off about Ding. Like, this is not Ding Liren. I mean, he went a step further. He said it's almost as if he like forgot how to play chess, like, or forgot how to play the game. Like, he's not insulting him. We are just, I think the chess community at large is basically shocked. It's got to be psychological. I'm not like look, I have my own psychological problems in chess, and I'm 430 points lower than Ding Liren. It's just like, it really is a shock, because I think in chess we're sort of used to the world champion being this utter display of dominance, right? And strikes fear into the hearts of his opponent. And my friends, Hikaru just slowly maneuvers his pieces, gets the two bishops. He has a major advantage here because he has a very powerful rook. He's going to have the two bishops pressuring, and Ding's pieces just aren't of the same quality, and it goes from bad to worse very quickly. Here, Hikaru makes an inaccuracy. The engine in this position is already claiming that literally, if black just goes g5 like this, the game ends. The engine just evaluates all these pieces as dead. So white can play h3, black will play h5, it's over. You can't stop g4. If you cannot stop g4, you just lose. So take, the rook gets in. Now, obviously, Hikaru saw something else, which is why he went rook c2. He probably didn't want to trade the rook so fast. And then in this position, something completely unfathomable happens. Hikaru's giving up the bishop to basically have like long-term play on the second rank. And the position is worse, but holdable. Yeah, Ding goes king d1 and just gets completely dominated. And Hikaru infiltrates, and he's going to pick up a pawn. He does pick up a pawn, slowly, like this. And that's it. That's the end of the game, because Ding has too many weaknesses. Opposite colored bishops are a drawn endgame, but not with rooks on the board. And Hikaru just slowly, very slowly, I may add, very dramatically and methodically, gets low on time, but ends up picking up the second pawn by force. He will pick up a third pawn, probably, and Ding just resigns. Ding has lost 3 games in a row. I don't know the last time a sitting world champion lost 3, listen to me, classical chess games in a row. 3 losses in a row happens, but in Rapid Blitz and probably like Fischer Random Chess 960, this is a shock. Ding is now down to, I think, 14th in the world. And with this win, Hikaru crosses 2,800 for the first time in nearly 10 years. Hikaru was the second highest rated chess player in the world in 2016 at 2015, actually, October, 2,816, 2816. Magnus was number 1, shockingly. Back then, there was talks of this crazy rivalry between Hikaru and Magnus. Now it's playing out. 8 years later, in Rapid and Blitz, and Magnus beats him more often than not. But Magnus beats everybody more often than not. So if he has a rival now, Hikaru's over 2,800. And pending the result of this game, Hikaru will either be number 2 in the world or just under Fabiano Caruana. So, Vaishali Rameshbabu in the meantime. sister of Prague, superstar household, playing against Lei Tingjie, the former world championship challenger. They traded a lot of pieces early in their game. This one kind of, you know, black has some pressure on this knight, and white has some things to say over here. Vaishali has had an incredible tournament. She picks up a pawn. She's going to lose it back, though. Queen b2. And the pace was very furious. It ultimately kind of got into this 6-on-6 endgame. White is better. White has to be very slow and methodical in her approach. And you see she's doing exactly that. She's playing knight back to e2. The king goes directly to the dark squares in the center. Excellent position. Lei holding serve, just defending, creating counterplay with the passed outside pawn. And even though Vaishali had an incredible position here, and it looked very, very nice, black did a great job defending and created counterplay of her own. And the game ultimately ends in a draw, but Vaishali on fire, and even though she didn't have a great candidates, winning the last 4 rounds clearly completely reinvigorated her, and her prep has been very good, and we go to an Armageddon. And this time they repeat the opening, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that. They repeated the opening, right? Bishop d6, and remember, black has draw odds, but starts with 3 less minutes, and this game, Vaishali played just a very, very clean, straightforward attacking game. This is the position after move 13. In their previous game, this was the position after move 13, and this was the position after move 19. Everything was traded. In this game, she keeps all the pieces on the board, right? Trades just the bishop and starts creating some sort of attack, and black has 3 minutes to defend herself, right? Rook f6 is crazy, right? So she sacrifices a rook, plays knight d5, and is like, I'm playing to win. By the way, that's a fork, and that's a fork. You could play rook d8. She didn't like that, though, because c3 kicks out the knight, and then white is going to, you know, get in over here. So Lei does this, knight c7, and we go to an endgame. We're going to take that rook in a second. There we go. King f2, king g6. Now, at this point, something very interesting happens as Vaishali starts kind of putting more pressure. Her advantage is gone, but she's trying to still win. All right, black is going to dip under a minute here. Vaishali has 1:34 on the clock. It's Armageddon. Knight g3, knight h5, black with 31 seconds. Now we get bonus time because we've made it past the 40th move. King to d2, knight f5. It's just a draw, which means that Lei is going to win, but there's still pieces on the board. And now, in this position, Vaishali's winning. But they have less than 10 seconds. And here, they start repeating moves, and Lei claimed that it was going to be a draw. Lei Tingjie thought this position had been reached 3 times, but it hadn't, and she makes a claim which gives Vaishali an extra minute. Do you notice how her time goes up? When you not illegally, when you make a claim that's wrong, she claimed they repeated the position, the opponent gets an extra minute, and that is the dagger. Because now, even though Vaishali, by the way, didn't continue the best way according to the computer, she has all the time in the world now to configure an attack, and there it is. And she pushes her pawn through, she joins, and there's nothing wrong or unfair. It was an incorrect claim, and the rule is you get a minute to the opponent. Vaishali wins again by deflecting the knight and checkmating her opponent. She is still leading Norway chess on the women's side 2024. Now, Prague versus Fabiano Caruana, again, pending the result of this game. Not only does Hikaru recross 2800 for the first time in a decade, Hikaru also will be number 2 in the world for the first time in probably also a decade. I don't know when the last time that happened. Prague plays a Catalan, plays g3, bishop e7, bishop g2, and now this is the main line of the Catalan. This is the main line of the Catalan. It's the open Catalan, and the main line now is queen here, a6, queen c, a4 to stop b5 coming with the tempo, and now black plays bishop d7, white takes, black puts the bishop out on this diagonal, white plays some bishop move, usually brings the queen back, etc. The old main line was queen a4, queen c4, but then people were like, why are we allowing them to hit us with this b5 move? Let's play a4 ourselves. Yeah, Prague plays the old main line. He plays queen a4, and then allows b5, and then here he plays something completely unique. He gives up the pawn on d4. So this pawn is going to fall. Fabi thinks for 5 minutes, and now the idea here is that if you take the bishop, you're going to lose the knight. So what you do is you sacrifice the knight, a desperado tactic, and the players land themselves in this position. The knight goes to d5, which, by the way, is not even the most accurate move. Black should quickly try to put this pawn on c4. Again, Pragg just takes Fabiano to somewhere that he probably hasn't looked at or memorized in many, many years. It's a very unique position. Knight to d5, bishop e5, c5, and very slowly, right, the pieces come to the center of the board. But the position's equal. Rook to d8. Pragg now starts attacking the integrity of the queenside structure with a4, and queen f5 is the equalizing move, just offering a trade of queens. Now you have to take, and the really unfortunate thing is that, obviously, if rook takes, there is e4, but even structurally, black had a very ugly pawn on e6, just alone. Now it rejoins the island over here, and black is fine. And now Pragg is probably unhappy with what happened, so he tries to take the A file, and Fabi just meets him there. So just no way to break through here at all. A really, really, really solid game by Fabi. Rook d1, knight goes back to f6, you're not in any danger, and now Fabi's like, yeah, time to start taking over because I can just bring my king and my pawns. Rook d7 is an active move. Fabi's also like, we can just trade. They trade, rook c7, and the rest is sort of like a formality. We're just going to trade some pieces probably and make a draw. Knight to e5, solid move. Now rook e8. Rook e8, however, allows knight d3. And I guess Fabiano just saw knight d3 coming and didn't like the fact that his pawn on c5 was there, but b4 is a nice move, and if knight to d3... you can create counterplay. I mean, at the very least, you can land yourself in something like this, g6, and this pawn's not going anywhere. So this would be a draw. Now, there had to be some accurate things done, but Fabi goes here and ultimately loses the pawn on c5, wins the pawn on b3, loses the pawn on f5, and then gets here. I think he did this deliberately because 3-on-2. It's not a draw in a king and pawn endgame, but it is a draw in a knight endgame, and it is a draw in a rook endgame. And so it's ugly. It's not really how most of us would play. But Fabi goes to make a draw in a knight endgame. And Pragg, I mean, he has to go forward. He obviously has no choice. And at this point, as long as you trade off the remaining pawn, you will just sacrifice the knight for the pawn. And Fabiano's a very experienced player. He proceeds to do exactly that. He's not rushing yet. He's not sacrificing anything because he hasn't found a way to trade the pawn yet, but he will. Knight is jumping around. f4, knight d3. Players shuffling. They really like horses. King e3, king d4. I mean, white can't break through either because white can't afford a... Knight d4 check allowed this. And it's a Zugzwang. It's a position where no matter where black moves, he loses something. h5, you can take. You can also push and win this pawn at a later moment. And if the knight moves, well, first of all, you can take the pawn on h6. But second of all, this is, again, I told you, this is a winning king and pawn, and you can't play 2-on-1. You will lose. So Fabi had to go here. And knight f5, he had to play knight f6. To force the king to defend the pawn. That's what he had to do and stay like this. Fabi lands himself in a Zugzwang. And basically, if he goes here, knight h6, g5 is winning. Because you lose the material, but this is a winning king and pawn endgame. Because again, you can't play the pawn endgame. Fabiano Caruana, out of nowhere, finds himself in Zugzwang, and Pragg, and that's exactly what happens, by the way. King d4, king f6, knight h6, unbelievable. And now Fabiano just has to play down 2 pawns, which he's obviously not going to save, because Pragg is Pragg. And he resigns. A couple of things just happened. Number 1, Fabiano Caruana just fell below 2,800. Number 2, Hikaru Nakamura is now the second highest rated chess player in the world, 27 points behind Magnus Carlsen. What? What is happening? This man is 36 years old. That's like he's got cobwebs all over him. That's so old in chess. I'm joking. But this man literally streams like 100 hours, 150 hours a month. He just plays Blitz online, right? He's just a streamer. Dude, he is clearly the second best, he's in classical chess. He's clearly number 1, number 2 in the world on any given day in Blitz and Bullet. And I was going to say he's clearly second in rapid, but obviously there's like all these online championships that, you know, sometimes other players win and whatever, but that's nuts. And the second thing that just happened is Pragg just beat the #1 and #2 ranked players in the world. Pragg beat Magnus in Classical, and he just beat Fabiano. What is going on? Pragg is top 10 in the world now. And on top of that, Gukesh is the one playing the candidates, but the #1 ranked Indian player in the world, #1 Indian, is Arjun Erigaisi. So in the top 10 of the world is Arjun. I think Gukesh is like 9. Maybe he's like right under. And Pragg. Maybe Gukesh is not. I don't know. It's a whole script. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. And we're not done. We still have Carlsen, Firouzja. And why is Pia Cramling under Switzerland? I definitely clicked Sweden. She did not change federations overnight. Anna Muzychuk versus Pia Cramling is a Rosalimo Sicilian. We will check in on the final results in the women's section. Pia Cramling has had a tough event. She has had some great positions. And she was even winning. She missed a very key tactic against Wenjun. She couldn't believe it. But some of these games sometimes, especially when she's pressing on the white side, she has a very stable and solid repertoire, and she has found it difficult to win in the Armageddon when she has to. In this game, Anna just basically had her just bothering her with her pieces, bishop pair, like slowly, you know, like again, the same thing that Hikaru did to Ding. He had the 2 bishops and he put pressure, literally, by the way, in reverse. Like a mirror image of the position. And as we see here, I mean, this is just going to be nagging. But she's going to defend herself. She's going to do a nice job. Rook A4, Rook B4. Very annoying position. But Pia is doing a very nice job defending it. But suddenly she starts unraveling. The pawn gets weak. Now the pawn is lost. And now white has infiltrated. And unfortunately, white's position is just too good. You don't even have to save your pawn. You're just going to get in and try to eat all the others. And a very nice job as, yeah, Anna does exactly that. And out of nowhere, black has no pawns. Like, it was even on pawns. But the pressure was just too much. I mean, especially with the time ticking. And Pia probably around here should have not rushed with A5. I mean, even A5 was probably okay. But somewhere here, maybe she just played a little bit passively. Like, maybe knight D8 was not the best solution. But it's very tough to say because white sort of had the pressure throughout the game and she turned the screw. And Anna wins a very nice game. She obviously picks up the pawns. And this would be a draw if white didn't have a pawn. Rook and bishop versus rook is a draw, but she gets the pawn through. She pushes through and obtains a winning position. And the last round from the women's side, Wenjun versus Humpy Koneru. This one was a classical Queen's Gambit declined. One of the most solid defenses in chess for black. And Wenjun was not able to break through it. They traded pieces early, completely symmetrical structure, completely, identical level of activity. And Humpy was just very, I mean, like, if there was a game to sort of say, like, yeah, the Queen's Gambit accepted is a very solid opening, this was the game. And they just drew. Like, when I say nothing happened in this game, that's not disrespect. Just sometimes nothing happens. Sometimes nothing happens. But you know where something will happen? The Armageddon, because it always does. So the players secure at least the point for the standings. And now Humpy's like, well, I got a completely okay position last time. So she goes Queen A4 check this time, Wenjun. Now, what I play here with black is Knight C6, Queen C4, followed by this move E5. It's a very aggressive gambit. The idea is to give up a pawn, attack the queen, and then after like this, you just very quickly develop your pieces. But I'm annoying and I play very provocative things. In this game though, we just get kind of a very different game than last time. We get a game with an open center, imbalanced structure, more space for white, but black is doing a nice job fighting back. I don't think Wenjun loved what happened to her position here either, given her time spend, but at least she has something to play for. Like, at least there's a target, you know? In the previous game, it was totally symmetrical. This time, 2 rooks in the center, target on D5, right? We're just going to slowly make progress. All right, G4, F5, all right? Rook E2, bishop F4, slow improvement. Keeping the time advantage, important, and the time advantage is gone. So now Humpy Koneru is just in the driver's seat. Take, we go to a rook endgame, rook H3, rook A7. This is a draw, but it's not completely easy. Like, you probably need to trade these pawns, bring the king over here, and wait. All right, rook H4, rook G7. Okay, fantastic. King D6, king C5. Oh, she's not letting her get to B6, which could be annoying, by the way. This could be very annoying with less than a minute on the clock, and suddenly the pawn's going, and nobody's stopping it. And yeah, rook b7 was the critical idea. Very instructive to cut off the king. Black now draws by playing rook h4, and I mean, you would not, it does not look natural at all to draw this game. You got to go down this way. That's the only way. a5, and now you have rook a1 when you want it. Not right now, by the way. You cannot, I mean, you just don't hang your rook. Don't blunder a rook. But because Humpy did not actually go back this way, she had to wait. She had to wait for white to do something. She doesn't wait, and now it's over. She can't be, the pawn's getting to b6. So black is completely boxed out. The king sneaks through. It wasn't supposed to sneak through. And Wenjun checkmates with a king and a rook. Shockingly, right? So she wins. And that brings me to this game. There was a lot of wild endgames today, and this one is no different. By the way, friendly reminder, I'll be in Spain for 2 weeks. I'm going to be uploading a bunch of stuff of the Clash of Claims. If you're in Spain, check out the Clash of Claims. If you live in Europe, check out the Clash of Claims. We're going to be there on site for 3 days. And then I'm going to be playing a tournament. You can't access that. There are no tickets for that. It's pretty cramped space. But it's very nice, and I'm very excited. And I look forward to it. So, by the way, I don't know if you guys realize this. You're covered for content. Norway Chess is until June 7th. Clash of Claims is June 7th to June 9th. My tournament is June 10th to June 15th. So you have chess for a while. Now, this one was really surprising. Because knight f6, Alireza chooses the Berlin. He chooses to neutralize Magnus Carlsen with the Berlin defense, which is lame. But I get it. And Magnus allows the Berlin. He allows it. He doesn't go for the endgame, though. He doesn't play d4. He plays rook e1, which is one of the lines. Right? Knight d6. And he plays this completely symmetrical position. Completely symmetrical. And basically, you know, most people here end up completely agreeing to draws. There is one way to make it interesting, and it's basically not allowing black to play d5. So Magnus plays it himself. That's what he does, and Alireza goes for a queen trade. Magnus puts the queen on the home square, says, I don't want a queen trade. So the only imbalance here is the pawn structure and the very slightly where these pieces are going to end up. So obviously both sides are going to have to make pawn moves, which is going to lead to some more imbalances. Okay, b6 already, some sort of imbalance from Alireza, right? Magnus plays a4, trying to target the queen side. Alireza plays a5, saying you can't target the queen side, right? Now light squares kind of up for grabs. Knight a3, knight c4. Now bishop g5, looking for a trade. Now, again, Alireza doesn't play d6 because there's too much light squared real estate, but d6 is completely reasonable. He goes for bishop g5, and now Magnus plays this move. And the idea is very simple. The idea is, I'm going to take here. We're probably going to trade there. So you're going to have some pawn weaknesses. That's all I need. By the way, maybe Alireza should have gone here. Maybe he should have not allowed this. And knight d6 is apparently better for black. Microscopically, but which is kind of funny. It is kind of funny. So knight c4, bishop g5, and Magnus transforms the position where he gets kind of exactly what he wants. He has not made it. There is some pressure here. Now this move protects everything, but it's Magnus, right? You're expecting a little bit of that Luka Doncic, you know? How did he do that? Rook e1. Alireza here plays one of the ugliest moves ever, but he's just like, I'm going to defend this endgame. You're not going to beat me. But he damages his pawns. He didn't have to do that. Like, if I was playing Alireza here, you couldn't offer him 50,000 euros to play queen f6. Honestly, I don't know how rich he is. Maybe he would take the money. But against Magnus, he plays this move because he's like, well, you know, because against me, Alireza would like, you know, he'd play h6. He would do something that keeps a little bit of tension, a little bit of life. This is what they do against Magnus. They're like, I can't lose now. And Magnus begins creating a structure. There was a really instructive game Magnus won against Alireza, maybe in 2021, 2022. It was a really long bishop endgame, extremely instructive bishop endgame. And it looks like it's about to happen again. Alireza plays rook c8. And look at this position. Now Magnus plays, Alireza plays bishop a4 because he's trying to get into a rook endgame. So bishop f7 check. King f8 attacks the rook. Rook moves. And now Magnus goes to work. All right, black is kind of stuck on the 7th rank. The time advantage is also growing for Magnus, now over 20 minutes. King f2, king g3. Magnus is bringing these pawns forward. This is protected, the rook is active. The game is a draw, but it's annoying, right? Rook b7, how are you going to defend your pawns? Maybe you won't. Now I bring the bishop back. Now you got 2 hanging pawns, Alireza. Right? You got 2 hanging pawns. I'm going to collect this one. We're again headed for a similar endgame as this game. Fabiano's game and Ding's game. A pawn down, and a migraine. Pawn down endgame is maybe holdable. Pawn down and a migraine, not necessarily holdable. King G7, Rook A6, and that's exactly what happens. We are in a 3-on-2 rook endgame. Rook C7. Now, if the pawns were together, probably auto draw. But because they're apart, you can still ask questions. King F5, H6. He plays H6 because I think he himself did not want to allow H6, but it's not really necessary, but okay, he plays it. 2 minutes for Alireza. King G4, King H3 back. Look at what, Magnus not doing anything, right? Magnus not doing, he's just waiting. All you have to do here with black, don't trade the rooks. And if you trade the rooks, it's gonna be a 1 in like 50 chance that it's a draw, okay? But more often than not, you do not trade the rooks. All right, now Magnus is coming forward very slowly, right? Like Alireza is just chilling. He's just chilling. Nothing there. You can't do anything. You're not. How are you even gonna get to his pawns? King F5. All right, Rook B7. Right. Okay. Right. Yep. Nothing. He's just. All right. Well, F5. How are you gonna break through with F5? What is Magnus doing? Well, what he does is, you know. By the way, here he should have probably kept him cut off, but now you know Magnus is kind of crawling along the 5th rank. Okay, and all right, you'd still go. By the way. This is still fine, but I think Alireza was worried about this. And I told you, you can't allow that. But now you create counterplay. Now you go for the base of the pawns. Rook C7, King G8, more on this later. Right? Because this is going to happen. Alireza goes for the counterplay. Rook B7, he goes for the counterplay. He takes the pawn. He didn't have to do that, by the way. He could have just continued to wait, but he figured he was going to get forced off the E-file anyway. So he takes the pawn, King E6, Rook A4, Rook D7. This is a draw. It's a draw because as black here, you just do nothing. Like, you can't do much. You could probably move your king around. I would not recommend this because Rook G7, Rook G6 is a win. Or maybe Rook D6 is a win. Why is this not a win? Checks. You have to use the king. Yes, you have to get the king to the 6th rank with Rook D6. Tricky, but findable. Alireza gets hit with Rook D6. Now, the funny thing about this endgame is that even this is a draw. F and H or A and C are a draw sometimes. Alireza trades the rooks and loses the endgame because he thought this was a drawn king and pawn endgame. It's not, because you need to get to the same position, but you need it to be the other person's side to move. And in this position, Magnus Carlsen gets this position on the board, but makes it black's move. If Magnus tries to come forward, it's a draw. Okay? If he tries to come forward, it's a draw. However, if he tries to get to this exact position and it's black's move, he wins. And he does this by triangulation. Not strangulation. Triangulation. Although playing him feels like strangulation. You make a triangle with your king because the opposing side does not have the same amount of squares. King F4. King E4. And Alireza resigns because if he goes here, Magnus sneaks in. And if he goes here, it's the same position. It's the same position, but it's not the same side to move. Look, black has just made the most recent move, whereas in what I just showed you, it was white who had made the most recent move. Look at this. And that is how Magnus wins this game. It's unbelievable. Alireza was just drawing this game in an unfathomable decision. He trades the rook, and Magnus wins. So these are your standings. After 5 rounds, Hikaru leads Norway chess, 10 points. 10 points, crazy. Everybody's played everybody already. Now we got to do it one more time. We're going to get double round robin. Liren has lost 3 games in a row. Unbelievable. Fabiano now down to world number 3 and under 2,800. Prague just beat the world number 1. Number 2 is in the top 10. Crazy stuff. Back to the Champions League. See you all in Spain, my friends. Shout out to those of you supporting on the Patreon. Like I said, over 320 of you. Hope you have been enjoying the content very much. I'm uploading tons of stuff on there. I will make vlogs for all of you as well. Check out the Clash of Claims and my tournament. Get out of here.